Hello, welcome to how to use molarity in conversions. So the question we're given is how many grams of sodium sulfate are there in 15 milliliters of 0.50 molar sodium sulfate? And so first we know that this is what we're given, 15 milliliters of a 0.50 molar sodium sulfate solution. And we have to remember that molarity, capital M, is equal to moles of solute divided by the liters of solution. So the first step is to make sure that we're in the right units. So we have molarity, which is 0.05 molar, which is correct, but we have milliliters, which we need to convert to liters. So we take our 15 milliliters and we convert that to liters, knowing that in 1 liter there is 1,000 milliliters. Milliliters is on the bottom, so those units cancel, and so we're left with 0.015 liters of solution. So the next step is then to set up the molarity equation. So we can plug in for molarity because we know that molarity is 0.50 molar sodium sulfate, which is given to us. And that's going to be equal to the moles of solute, which we can call X because we do not know that value at the moment. And we're looking for grams, so we first need to find the moles, which will then allow us to convert to grams. We now know the liters of solution, which is 0.015 liters. Once we have this, we can solve for X, and what we find is that X is going to be equal to 0.0075 moles of sodium sulfate. And we get that value by basically just taking the 0.50 molar sodium sulfate and multiplying by 0.015 liters so that we're left with X on one side and 0.0075 moles of sodium sulfate on the other side. Well, once we have that, we can now turn to knowing that we can go from moles to grams using the conversion factor of molar mass. So when we set this equation up, we have 0.0075 moles of sodium sulfate, and we're going to convert that to grams of sodium sulfate, knowing the molar mass of sodium sulfate, which says that 1 mole of sodium sulfate has 142 grams of sodium sulfate. This means our moles of sodium sulfate cancel out, and what we're left with is 1.065 grams of sodium sulfate. We can report our final answer at 2 significant figures, meaning that we end up with 1.1 grams of sodium sulfate. So for these problems where you can use molarity and conversion factors, remember it can convert from moles to liters or liters back to moles if you know the molarity. This concludes how to convert using molarity as conversion.